Hello and welcome to another edition of Squared Circle Radio. Yes, we are on the air. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here. I'm your host, Chris Belcher. Thanks for joining us. Whatever platform you have chosen to join us on, whether you're watching us on YouTube, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you so much for doing that. Like, subscribe, follow the show, all of those things. We would appreciate it very much. Andy York is going to join me in just a little bit, but before Andy gets here, I want to extend a special thank you, number one, to everybody who is supporting us and continues to support us on our YouTube channel. Last week's episode is the most viewed non-live show that we have ever put up on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate your support very much. One thing that we will ask you to do, a lot more people watch that video than have subscribed to our show. So hit that subscribe button, would you please? We would appreciate it so much. It doesn't cost you a thing. It helps us in so many ways. We would appreciate it very much. We're trying to drive those subscriber numbers up, and we could really use your help doing that. So thank you so much anyway for making that video our most viewed non-live show that we've ever done. Keep raising the viewership on that. Let's get it to the highest on our YouTube channel if you want to. That's great. Or if you want to make this one even higher than that, I know we would appreciate it. I know our guest, Colby Carter, would appreciate it. Yes, the Code CCW star headlining Battle of Nashville this weekend in Nashville, Tennessee for Coastal Championship Wrestling. He is going to join the show right now. Let's not waste any more time. Here is my conversation with the Code, Colby Carter. Joined now by the Code, Colby Carter, former CCW International Champion, soon to be CCW Heavyweight Champion, coming up this Friday. Mr. Carter, how are we, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on, Chris. Honored to be on, man. Good, ready to sit down and talk as much wrestling as possible, So
no, absolutely, man. That's what we do here on Squared Circle Radio. We talk wrestling. If this is your first time listening, if you are listening, if you're tuning in because of Colby, thank you so much for doing that. We hope you stick around. You like and subscribe and do all those things. We would appreciate it. I know he's got a huge fan base here in Tennessee. You're the hometown boy. I've seen you several times performing in Tennessee. What is it like? I know I asked you this last time we were together at the Music City Fight Night show. What's it like, man, walking out in front of a crowd? So many people that you know, people you grew up with. It's all supporting Colby Carter. What's that like?
Man, I can't even put it into words, right? Like, there's people that are spending their hard-earned money and their time and their effort to get there to come watch me chase this wild dream, right? To be able to walk into a room and I'm seeing faces of people that I saw earlier in the day at the gym I haven't seen in years since high school or in college. It's just unbelievable, man. I don't know a better word to describe it, but it's very rewarding. Kind of makes you think like, maybe I've been doing things right the last few years of my life, because all these people are coming out of the woodwork to support it. Just means the absolute world to me, man.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And you've had such a long journey to get here. You've only been in the business for 2 years, and man, taking Middle Tennessee and beyond by storm. I've seen you wrestle several times, so fluid in the ring, so smooth with what you do. You have such a natural ability and a natural charisma. And I'm not blowing smoke just because you're sitting right here with me.
I appreciate that.
It's really, really impressive what you've been able to do approaching your second year in the business. You recently wrestled Jay Lethal at an event in the Nashville area. You've competed on AEW Dynamite. You've done some stuff with the NWA, but this Friday night, the Battle of Nashville, you and QT Marshall, the guy who's really been a mentor for you in this business, but he holds the gold that you want. That is this Friday at the Texas Troubadour Theater. If you're in the Nashville area and you don't have your tickets yet, you can get them at ccwrestlingfl.com, or you can come to the door, buy them right at the door. But we want you here. We want you supporting Colby. It's going to be a fun night, a one-night tournament for the Tennessee Heavyweight Championship. And then, of course, headlined by you, man. So your story is so cool that you showed up at QT Marshall's seminar. That's the word. at CCW several years ago. You'd never taken a bump in your life. You told this story on our buddy Tyler Peters podcast, just about how QT really took you aside and really just broke everything down for you. Now, 2 years later, you're about to main event a humongous show in Nashville with that guy. What is that like, being able to get into the ring with QT Marshall?
Man, it's unreal. I mean, I keep using the same words, I feel like, but it feels like, you mentioned the Jay Lethal thing. I met him a while ago at the wrestling school when we rolled, and now here we are 2 years later. I had my match with Jay Lethal. And now we're 2 years later to when I met QT. And like you said, I'd never even been in a ring before. I go to
Yeah.
the seminar, and I'm the only one there that's never done it before. He has everyone raise their hand. Who's been here? Who's been working less than 4 years? Maybe two guys raise their hand. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I don't even know how to get in the ring properly. Oh, I have to wipe my feet when I get in? I didn't know this. So I'm just learning things on the fly. And he, like I said, he pulled me aside and really took me, like you said, took me under his wing and, ran me through the real basics. And he kept apologizing because, guys like me, as far as not being in the ring, don't go to those seminars typically.
Right.
But Nelio, who owns CCW, said, "Hey, it's for any levels are welcome. I want you to be here." So I went, and so he paired everyone off in twos, so they all had 5-minute matches. So, and I'm talking about when you critique a match, that man, to every step they took, to every headlock they took, why did you do this? Why did you do this? I had this written in my notes, and then he would pause, like, why did I write that? Oh yeah, I didn't like how this was done, and like just so much knowledge. I remember they were going through it, and I looked over at him. I said, "Hey, do you mind if I sit next to you? If I can't get in the ring, I'm at least going to pick his brain the best I possibly could. Because who else? I mean, what better to learn from than a guy that's a VP of a company that's on TV 3 nights a week?
Yep. That's
So
exactly right.
picking his brain, and then he's the one that led me to the school with Jerry Lynn and Tom Latimer that I went to, and Jake Dumas, who also works for NWA. Those guys, and Jerry Lynn, of course, and those guys really have been my mentors through all of this, along with QT. And QT would check in on me every now and then. Well, then he had a second seminar come around, and I was probably, I think, 6 months into the school. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go again. I'm not going to get signed, right? But I want to go and just. I remember we were doing a heat drill, which is when the heel is on top, right? Doing a heat drill, punches, kicks, strikes, whatever. He said he didn't want to see anything crazy, and I think his name's Aaron Solo, was also a AEW guy.
Mhm.
And I'm giving heat, and I look up and I see QT like lean over and say something to Aaron, and I'm like, oh man, I'm screwing this up. I'm screwing this up. So I'm doing something wrong, right?
Yeah.
So the timer goes off, and I said, I saw you talking to Aaron. He said, I was telling him I couldn't believe how far you've already came in 6 months.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I thought this was going to go the other way. So like,
Right.
great that it's going to go this way, right? It's like, okay. So he was the first one to really give me that confidence that like maybe I could do this, right? And then the
Yeah.
6 month check in, right? Hey man, you've gotten really good really quick, which I give all the credit to Jerry Lynn and Tom and Jake Dumas. That's really taken their time on me at the school to get me to where I was. And then, yeah, here we are 2 years almost. It's a year from my first match ever
Mhm.
and 2 years from when I first met QT and all of this all started. So it's crazy. Like all these full circle things just keep happening. And, if you listen to my podcast or my podcast with Tyler, I kept talking about how things lined up and it seemed like I was supposed to do this. And, it seems so cliche, right? The school's right down the road from my house. QT leads me to this school. I meet Tom. I'm the only one there that's never been in the school. Again, I'm in the same situation again, right? Well, he
Yep.
takes me under his wing, and so does Jake, so does Jerry, and going through all of that, and now here we are 2 years later, and like you said, I'm headlining the biggest show in Nashville with QT against QT
Yep.
for CCW's heavyweight champion. I'm still like just blown away. I'm still like, it's still surreal to me. It's very surreal to me.
Well, I think too, again, you're 2 years into this. I think that speaks to your hard work and your ability, not just in the ring, but who you are as a person and what is instilled in you. And then being able to pick this up as quickly as you have, and just your drive and determination to want to get better. And I think that that's what separates wrestlers from really good wrestlers who are so fluid in the ring. It's the desire to get better. Some people are going to rely on their natural athleticism, which you could easily do. You're a college athlete. You're a body guy, you could rely on that, but instead you rely on your hard work and all of these things getting you to where you are. You've earned your spot, man. I mean, 2 years into the business, it's a fantastic spot to be in. I know you don't like for me to sit here and put you over, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, I really appreciate that. And like I said, I have to credit my coaches and my mentors that took the time with me. We'd have school, the class would start at 7 o'clock and it would end at 9:30. And we got to where Tom Latimer would call me and say, "Hey, meet me there at 5." I would roll with him from 5 to 7. I would stay
Mhm.
for practice from 7 to 9:30. I get home at 10:30 or so, wind down, and I get up for work at 3:30 the next morning. I mean, that first year was really hard on me because I knew I was missing a lot of stuff at home. But and that's another part of it. Like, if I'm going to miss that much time with my family, like I'm going to be good at it. I'm
Exactly.
going to at least work on it. I'm going to
Yep.
give it the best I got because I only got one shot at it. You know what I mean? And that's just, and again, I have to credit all my coaches and all that for taking the time with me because they saw something in me from the very beginning that I don't know if I saw myself. So I owe them everything.
Well, I'm gonna test you on that because on the episode that you recorded with Tyler, you talked about always wanting to get into wrestling, always feeling like watching it and be like, "Hey man, I could do that. Hey man, I could do that."
I was
And
so
then
naive.
right, right. Well, you had a friend that pushed you a little bit and was like, "Hey, you need to do this." But at this age, only 2 years in, and you've lived life well before what you're doing right now. Besides that friend, was there something in particular that gave you the confidence to be like, "Yes, I'm going to do this. Now is the time for me to do this." Before the seminar or anything like that, was there something that clicked with you that's like, "Yeah, this is the time to do it right now."
So I'm going to shorten this story a little bit. So I've been in the gym culture my whole life, being a trainer, running a gym, whatever. The last gym I was at that was in Hendersonville. I'm still at F45, but I'm in Gallatin now. Actually,
There you go.
um, so
Keep playing.
shameless plug, right? Yeah, yeah. So I was at a different location, and the people that I work for, I didn't get along with them very well, and I poured my heart and my soul into that studio. And they were from out of state, so they didn't really see a lot of that. So and we had our differences, and it was just a point in time where, okay, I'm not happy here. What do I do? I go work at another gym. Well, then, like,
Mhm.
I'm stuck in the same boat in a few years, maybe, because the couple last few people I worked for, it was just really hard to work for. I had a buddy of mine who was like, "You pick the worst people to work for." But like, because I'm giving whatever I do. Same with the wrestling stuff. Whatever I do, I'm giving it my all. I'm using all my resources to help. I want this to grow. I want it to be successful. Um, but there was a moment when I kind of was in limbo. Like, I don't know what I want to do with job wise. I don't
Yep.
want to go work at a big box gym. I've already done the personal training on my own. I didn't make enough money, but I love doing that. So I still want to be able to help people. And then that kind of was like, maybe I should try this wrestling thing. Like, again, we went to when we always go to all the WWE shows, AEW shows, CCW shows when they're in town. We go to all of those, man, and I just keep watching. And you know how it is after years and years, you keep hearing the same thing. You kind of start to believe that, whether it be true or false, right?
Yep.
And my buddies, man, you should do this. And then my wife, even, "Hey, you could do that." Again, totally naive of me to think I can do some of this stuff, but
Right.
but you keep hearing it year after year after year, and you start thinking like, maybe I can. And then those wheels started turning, right? And then that's when the seminar happened. And then we go to SmackDown as at Bridgestone. I stopped by the school. That's where I met Tom. And then just one thing after another. And once I started the school, there was a certain moment, and Tom probably will never remember this. It was a spot that we were running. Nothing crazy. Nowadays, I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, piece of cake," right? But when I first started, I was a nervous wreck, and I looked over at Tom, and he was sitting outside the ring watching, and he could tell on my face, like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm a nervous wreck. And he
Mhm.
just gave a look at me, looked right at me, looked me right in the eyes, and just gave a head nod, like, "You've got this." You know what I mean? Didn't say a word.
Yep.
But that moment for me, that's it. I can do that. And I just, again, he'll probably never forget that. He's probably told me 100 million things that I do wrong and good. But
Right.
that one moment for me was like, and that was really early in the school where it's like, I'm still trying to find my footing. I'm still trying to figure out if I can even do this at this age. Um, and yeah, like that was hearing that over years and years, and having Tom give me that one stern look at practice that one day, it was like, okay. And we were doing a suplex. I remember I think it might have been a week later, snap suplex. First time I did one, gave a guy a snap, and I sit up and look at Tom, and Tom's looking at Jake, and Jake's looking at Tom like that was his first one. It was perfect. You know what I mean? And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I see what's going on here. I think, and then it just kept continuing from that. But yeah, just years after hearing it, man, I was like, I'm tired of thinking, what if? Like what if, man? Like what if I would have tried that? What if I could have maybe
Mhm.
got on TV once or twice? And that just kept eating away at me for years and years and years. Finally, I'm just
And you
trying to kick the door in.
and 6 months into your career, you did get on TV. You were on AEW Dynamite at Bridgestone Arena 6 months into your career, man. Um, what was that experience like? Just like I don't I know I asked you earlier, like what are these things like, but just being 6 months into the business and you're walking in and you told the story on Tyler's podcast about how you didn't know what you were doing. And the day went on, and it was like, oh, you're going to be on TV. And you're like, wait, what? Like how blessed are you to have found that spot? You know what I mean?
Dude, I say it all the time. Like I don't deserve a lot of the things I get, but I'm gonna make sure like I make the most of them, right? Like that. I told Tyler, like I showed up to the venue. 1 o'clock was the call time, I think. Yeah, I probably had to do some security. We're having like that's when Jeff Jarrett was having it was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Chainsaw
match.
Massacre match. Yep.
Because
Yep.
that was here, right? It wasn't in Memphis.
Yeah,
Because
that
I
was
did
here.
Memphis with them too. It was here. And I remember
That
they're like,
was
well, the Lexus Lounge, you probably need some guys, extra security in case it gets a little crazy around the crowd. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So they give us the briefing, and it's like, do whatever you want. Don't fanboy back here, right? But, get your food, whatever. Food. We talked about this earlier. Food. I'm gonna go get some
That's right.
food. So I go to catering, and I'm saying, hey, how are you? Like meeting all these people, and one of the other extras comes up to me and he says, hey, you're Colby, right? Yeah, this is cool. How do you know who I am? And he said, Captain Sean Dean's looking for you. Like, did I do something wrong? Am I not supposed to eat right? You said food. I'm okay, right? And they're like, no, I think we're going to use you on Dynamite. Immediate, like, heart sink, like, excited, but also, what did you just say to me? I'm going to be on TV. Oh, my God. Again, I'm 6 months in, dude. I'm about to have a heart attack.
Right.
So go find Sean. Yeah, I think we're going to use you for a tag team spot. Go find House of Black. The guys I watch on TV every week. Okay. I know who they are. I'm sure I can point them out, right? I can go find them. Go find the acclaimed. Go find the acclaimed. Are you kidding me? Like I'm in the same sentence with these two tag teams. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm 6 months in, man. I don't even know if I have my wrist tape with me. You know what I mean? Like, and so we planned that out. Again, it's very simple. And I remember I was sitting in the seats 4 hours before the show started, and my hands were like this the whole time, just shaking. Like I could not. I was almost having a panic attack. I could not control what was going on. I'm shaking in my seat. I'm trying to text people. I'm like, nervous wreck, man. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then as the day went on, I'm getting a little less nervous, right? And then they preloaded us in the ring, right? I mean, crazy. I didn't get an entrance at 6 months in on AEW live TV,
Well,
but
who do we need to call to fix that? Right?
I text Jerry. He's like, "Hey, man, I can't get an entrance here, man. Come on, man." So they preloaded me and Chico Adams in. Love Chico Adams, by the way. He's a big name in Florida. He's been on my TV more than half the wrestlers I feel like I follow,
Mhm.
man. So they preload us in, and I remember walking. As soon as I walked through that curtain, all the nerves went away. I
Yeah.
was a nervous wreck, and I walked in there, started looking around, and I was like, this is really cool. This is what I want. You know what I mean? And my wife asked me, and it's again another cliche thing. She said, how'd that feel being out there in that big of an arena? And I told her, I said, it felt like I was supposed to be there. I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't nervous. I was more nervous before. I was a nervous wreck beforehand. But
Yeah.
getting out there and looking around, and I heard one of my best friends was sitting in the front row, and I heard him yell my name. And I looked up and pointed at him. Some other kid in the crowd yelled, Colby Carter. again, I've had like 2 matches, so he had to be at one of my matches. A couple of the guys from the school were a couple rows back, and I heard them yelling my name, and it's like, this is nuts, man.
Yeah.
Like this is just incredible, and again, not deserving of that whatsoever, but so thankful for that and for that experience, man. It was so cool, and try not to be a fanboy backstage was kind of tough too when you see Jeff Hardy and Sting walk by you, you know.
Yeah, I Sting's one of my all-time favorites. I probably would have fanboyed out
Yeah,
myself.
it's hard not to, man. You're not supposed to. I get it. We are peers at this point in time, but
Yep,
like, hey, man, it's freaking Sting, dude. You know.
exactly. But I mean, that speaks to who you are as, everybody talks all the time about anybody that's in the wrestling business started out as a wrestling fan. And you're
Of
no
course.
different because that's how the majority of the people get into business. Now there are some stories a little more now where it's athlete just transition. They've never even watched wrestling, but here they are. But most people get in because they are fans, and you are no different. So let's take us back. What are your earliest memories of watching wrestling? What are some things that you can think of that might not be the first time you saw it on TV, but it was like, man, what is this? I'm glued to this every single time it's on my television.
Man, you have to go all the way back to like the Monday Night Wars. That was
Yes.
like prime. You'd been watching it a little bit, right, beforehand. And then leading up to the Monday Night Wars, when you are just captivated in every single night on like what's transpiring, what's going to happen. And now you look at it like how out of pocket they're going to be on the microphone. Some of
Right.
the stuff they said, you know, but um, that was probably the earliest because I'd go over to a buddy's house. You know, back in the day, you had to flip back and forth. Probably showing my age
Yes.
here. You had to flip back and forth in the channels, right? And we were probably way too young to be watching that and DX and crotch chopping each other across the across the living room. But
My
man,
parents,
those
my
were
parents finally just went, hey, you're not watching that one anymore. I'm like,
right.
come on.
Dude, I remember we had a birthday party over at my buddy's house, and one of the parents came upstairs, and we're all there's probably 8, I don't know, however young we were, just standing around, just crotch chopping each other, you know. And the dad walks up there and was like, "If I see one more crotch chop, we're leaving." And I remember just like, so that was like the earliest memory that I can remember where it's like, oh my God, this is a huge deal going on here. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm glued. Oh my God, Sting's coming out of the rafters. Are you kidding me? And Hollywood Hulk Hogan, what happened? He used to be good guy Hogan, you know? And then obviously DX and all that going on was just, it was just so entertaining, man. I love me a good storyline. So, and
Yep.
those factions were just fantastic to be around.
Were you more of a WCW or WWF guy?
Man, I don't know. I think the NWO was the coolest thing of all time. I mean, like that was,
I agree.
I-
I agree.
I'm a big black and white guy. Like all my, like a lot of my clothes, just black and white. Like so the black and white entrance, maybe that's why I wear black and white all the time. I don't know, but it makes more sense now, right? But
Yeah.
so NWO was the coolest thing ever. It kind of got out of pocket, like when you had like the red and black, the black and white was okay, but then you had 50 members or swapping back and forth. It just got messy, right? But at the very
Yes.
beginning, you had Sting as the biggest anti-hero ever. Same with Stone. But then you had Stone Cold on the other side, the other big anti-hero with DX and The Rock. And, you know, some of my favorite wrestlers were on the WWE, WF side. So
Yeah.
I liked the ideas WCW was doing for a while, but as far as the wrestlers themselves, big time WWF, WWE guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've always said that the stories, especially in the Attitude Era, were way more interesting in WCW.
Yeah.
But the in-ring product, I mean, it's WWF hands down. My whole thing with Sting, I mean, he's my probably my number 2 favorite all time behind Shawn Michaels, and that'll never change. But
Mm,
what I've always
mm,
said about Sting is I feel like that Sting doesn't get the credit that he deserves for what he was able to do in the ring because of the competition that he had and the hand
right.
that he was dealt. He never got to wrestle Shawn. He never got to wrestle Rock. He never got to wrestle Taker. He got to wrestle Brett, but Brett was a little bitter at that point, you know? So if Sting would have gotten in the ring with some of these other guys, maybe he's looked at a little more prominently, like a Shawn Michaels or whatever. Do you get that at all?
Oh, I totally agree with that. And, we have all those dream matchups we want, right? And you can't tell me Sting wrestling Shawn Michaels have been the same as Sting wrestling Buff Bagwell.
Right.
Shut out Buff Bagwell. Or Scott Steiner, like all those top guys, like, because, they went the route of getting a lot of the older guys that were kind of at the tail end. Well, we thought Hogan was at his tail end, but he just looked like he was at his tail end at that point. Someone showed me something where Roman Reigns is the same age now that Hogan was when he started NWO.
Mm-hmm.
That blows my mind. Roman still looks great. I mean, Hogan looked great, but I guess it was the skullet that he had was just, I don't know, it just made him look. But that blows my mind. But yeah, you can't tell me like the in-ring product, like Sting wrestling The Rock. Like you named all those guys. I would have loved to watch Sting wrestle those guys. And I'm sure, like vice versa, there was a lot of mixed matches that you could have put together there. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, though. Sting would have never got his credit, man, because he'd hit a guy with a bat, front hand, backhand, stinger splash, scorpion death drop, game over, right? It's like, man, like they didn't really give him a lot of time in those matches. But again, it could have been who he was working with, so it is what it is. But
yeah, and I mean, he didn't wrestle a single match for like 16 months or whatever it was, but he made the most money I'm sure that he ever made in his career just by hanging out in the rafters and
just showing up.
Yeah, that's all he had to do. And it was the coolest storyline that anybody could ever do. And everybody that listens to this podcast and my co-host Andy like to pick at me because my die on the hill moment is Starrcade 97. And if you get me talking about Starrcade 97, we're going to be here for a long time. So I'm going to do everybody a favor. I'm just not going to bring it up. I'm just not going to do it. What I will say is something that you said a couple of times I want to go back to. You're a fan of stories, and big wrestling fans are always fans of just the best stories. Aside from the NWO, what are some of your stories in wrestling that you go back to that you think of so fondly that maybe helped inspire you to get into the business?
Yeah, like you said, the NWO, the DX, all that stuff, right? But growing up watching Triple H and The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, how they used to not like each other, right? But they were best friends, so their in-ring chemistry was always off the freaking charts, right? And like watching those guys, and obviously now the bloodline the last few years. Oh, brother. I mean, like it's must-see TV. Again, we got Roman just showing up. We got to watch, right? And with the Polynesian descent, like it's in the bloodline, right? And so I'm obviously a little biased towards that storyline, but
hey, listen, we'll make a call. We'll make sure that you listen. Solo Sikoa, Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, Colby Carter. That's it right there. Let's go,
man. I'm all for it. Like me and Solo are boys anyway, so that'd be great. So
that's great.
But yeah, so like the storyline always drives the match. I feel like I would remember more of a story than a match, right? 5-star matches are cool, don't get me wrong, but if there's a story behind it, you could do half as much really and make it a 5-star. You know what I mean? The story is what drives the machine. You can have all these random one-off 5-star matches. It's great, but there's no story to it. Then like, why are we bleeding every match? You know what I mean? So
you mentioned something. You mentioned some of the current stuff that's going on, man, and you talked about growing up in the Monday Night Wars and just really being captivated by that. And the current product nowadays, the wrestling landscape is heavily compared to the Attitude Era and that Monday Night War era, just for all the attendance records they're breaking and merch and viewership and yada, 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 all those things. Man, I'm not asking you to say, is this era better than that one? But when you put the two side by side, like what is your thoughts on everybody saying that this is either better than or at least the next best thing?
I mean, I think it's very similar. They're making more money than ever because different revenue streams, right? With the social media and all that. And wrestlers it's easier to access the wrestlers via Twitter. Drew McIntyre tweets during a match and it blows up. right? And I mean but that adds to the storyline. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more avenues that they can go. But I mean, if you told me now that it was as good as it was back then, that's tough, man. The top end story, I wouldn't say you're wrong.
Right.
The Bloodline, the NWO, the DX, all that stuff. I think Bloodline holds its torch right there.
Yep.
Now, and I think talent-wise, there's much more talented athletes that are on the roster now for the mid card, and they don't get lost like they used to. You know, there was a period in WWE, I feel like if you weren't the top guy, you just kind of got lost in the shuffle for a while. You know,
Yep.
and I feel like with Paul Trips, or you want to call him, I think with him in charge, they've done a really good job of making like the Intercontinental Championship a big deal. Like Gunther had it for 666 days. Yikes! But he had it for yeah, you know, yikes. But you know, like every belt makes it feel like it's a big deal, you know, and I think that's so important because everyone's going to watch the main event WrestleMania, everyone. But if you can sell me on the stories on all the other matches too, I'm even more engaged in the show, whether it be WrestleMania, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, whatever it is. And AEW the same way. You know, you get a guy like Omega going against, you know, Okada or Will Ospreay, dude, I'm so in. But give me a story behind it too, and I'm even more bought in, you know.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, the story is absolutely what drives everything. Like you said, you can have all the 5-star matches you want. I'll hold Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 up against anything that has ever existed. That's my all-time favorite match, and nobody can convince me otherwise. But it's the story behind that. It's Shawn trying to beat the streak. It's the Shawn coming down from the sky and the Undertaker coming up from the stage. And, you know, just the contrast of those things. It just, and they're two legends and they had never had that spot. So, you know, it just writes itself. And you mentioned Shawn and Triple H, man, like Ruthless Aggression era stuff when Shawn came back, just like, it's so good, man. I can just watch that stuff all day long.
And Shawn was my all-time favorite also.
I mean, this is why we
there's
get
not
along.
even and I love The Rock, don't get me wrong. He was on another stratosphere, same with Stone Cold. But Shawn, man, get him in the ring and he can wrestle anybody. He can wrestle anything. He could oversell Hulk Hogan. He could, you know what I mean? Like he could, you know, that was one of my all-time favorite clips and matches watching. But he just was so good at everything. And I really relate to him because I'm not the biggest guy in the world. You know, like you mentioned, I'm a body guy. Like, I appreciate that. Like, Shawn was too. He was just a smaller frame like me. Like, I'm not your 6'4" freak athlete, you know? And so I always related to, like, whatever he does, I think I could do. Now, he is a salesman and the best wrestler of all time, in-ring performer in my eyes.
Yes.
But he does a lot of things that I'm thinking, you know, maybe I could mimic a lot of my stuff after him, you know. I had this dream when I was a younger kid from Nashville, Tennessee, right? The sweet chin music as a finish writes itself. And I hate that everyone uses it now, or the thrust kick, whatever you want to call it, because I don't get to do that anymore. So, but, you know, I was like, it's a, you know, tip of the cap to Shawn. Nashville's a music city, right? Sweet chin music. Oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. And then now it's just a transitional move. You know, I gotta figure something else out, you know. So.
Hey, listen, this coming Friday at Battle of Nashville against QT Marshall, can you at least just try to tune up the band one time and see what happens?
Brother, I'll tune it up.
Listen, tune it up.
Tune
the
it
people
up.
are going to get behind you. You know they will. It'll be great.
I'll tune it up. I pulled it out at one of the shows locally a while ago, and got a couple pops just for stomping the foot, getting ready. You know what I mean? So I'll see if I can pick my moment right. I'll tune up the band one time for you. I better get a pop from you if you see it.
Yes. You're good. Oh, listen, you will hear, because if I'm doing commentary up in the crow's nest, I'll yell out there. Everybody will hear me. It'll be great. You'll
that's a deal. If I get him down for a second, I'll start tuning up the band and we'll go from there. So
yes, let's go. I'll that'll be great. Colby Carter, man, I appreciate you so much being on the show. I got one more question for you, and it might be a curveball for you, but I'm going to ask you anyway. I opened this interview talking about how you're the hometown hero. You know, all these places that you've gone to in Middle Tennessee, the people are just behind you. You see people, you know, you've had incredible matches. Chase Stevens, Beast Man, Toby Farley, just to name a few, Damian Wayne in your debut match, all of those kind of things. You've been able to draw good houses, but that's Colby Carter as a baby face.
Uh-oh.
You thought about what a heel Colby Carter might look like?
You want my real answer here? I
want
think
the
about it.
answer. I want the
I
answer
think
you
about
want
it.
to give.
I think about it every day. I do.
I
I
love it.
do. Every time I get screwed out of winning a match, lose my title, I get cheated out of it. I have a match at the wrestling school, get cheated out of it, and like I said earlier, man, you keep hearing those things over and over and over again. You start to believe them a little bit. So, I have nothing but support from the people that are here, and I
Yep.
want to give them a good show. But I'd be lying if I haven't told you I haven't thought about it. So, at some point in time, you reach that breaking point. I'm not there yet. I'm not anywhere near there yet. But I've definitely thought about it, and I think it would be a lot of fun. I'll say that. So.
Well, listen, we talked about Shawn Michaels a whole lot on this podcast. 1996, he was on top of the world, man. He was
Yep.
the world champ, and he was having matches with the British Bulldog and Vader and Diesel and all these guys, but he was the most unhappy that he's ever been. And I'm not saying that you're unhappy right now, but Shawn was the smiling babyface face of the company. And then at some point, Shawn broke and Shawn just went sideways, So it happens to the best of you. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I mean, I told you Shawn was my favorite for a reason, right? I don't ever want to lose my smile. Don't get me wrong. I don't ever want to do that. But yeah, at some point in time he broke, man. And it's gonna happen, man. I love what I'm doing now. And if I can entertain in a different way, and if I need to take a different route to become more successful, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that's great. I just think that, the ultimate babyface can always be the ultimate heel. We saw it with Hulk Hogan. We talked about it, the NWO, say your prayers and train and vitamins and the whole 9 yards, and you fans can stick it, brother. And there it was.
Yep.
So it happens, but yeah, I want to throw that out at you because it's just that's in listening to your interview with Tyler and all the times that you and I've talked, I'm like, man, I bet a heel Colby Carter would just be a lot of fun. I just, what your thoughts have been on that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think about it all the time, man. And I cut a promo, and my buddy Connor Casey was there next to me, and it was just your typical babyface promo, and he was, that'll work. I think you were recording it actually,
Yeah.
and I said, was that okay? And you're like, it's okay, it'll work. And then you walked off, and Connor goes, you just want to be a heel so bad. And I was like, I don't. It's just maybe it's more natural to me. I don't know. I'm talking about fighting here, man. We're not talking about having a football game. It's a little different. You know what I mean? So sometimes I used to have a really bad temper when I was little, and it doesn't come out very often. But sometimes it wants to come out. Sometimes, so maybe I'll let it out sometime. We'll see.
There we go. Listen, every babyface got to have a little bit of edge to them. It's fine.
Absolutely.
That's no problem. The fans are still going to support you. We're going to support you this coming Friday, Battle of Nashville, CCW. I'm going to throw the graphic back up here one more time in case you guys haven't seen it. ccwrestlingfl.com is where you can get your tickets, or you can just buy them at the door. That's this Friday, May 17th at the Texas Troubadour Theater over by the Opry Mills Mall, Opryland Hotel. If you're familiar with the Nashville area, come out and see it. Colby Carter versus QT Marshall, the main event for the CCW Heavyweight Championship. But again, an 8-man, one-night tournament to crown the first Tennessee Heavyweight Champion. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, an action-packed show. CCW shows always are, but the star of the show, Mr. Colby Carter. You can follow him at the Colby Carter on Twitter and Instagram. He is our guest on the show today, man. I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I'm glad we got to do this, and I'm excited for Friday. if you order your tickets online, use discount code Colby and save a little bit of cash so you can come watch us.
There you go. There's a Squared Circle Radio exclusive for you. All of our listeners, use that code Colby. You'll get yourself some discounted tickets. We'd appreciate it. And then come say hi to me. I'll be there. Come say hi to Colby. Of course, he will be there. Just
Please.
let us know that you're checking out the show. We would appreciate it. Colby, again, thank you, man. I appreciate your time, brother.
Thanks for having me on, man. Love this.
Man, what an interview. The Code Colby Carter, former CCW International Champion, now headed this Friday to challenge QT Marshall for the CCW Heavyweight Championship at Battle of Nashville. Again, that is this Friday at the Texas Troubadour Theater. If you are in the Nashville area, you can get tickets, ccwrestlingfl.com, 8 p.m. start time. If you don't buy tickets in advance, there's plenty available at the door. Come join us. It will be a whole lot of fun. But let's continue the fun here and welcome in the young buck, Andy York. Andy, what an interview. What was a big takeaway listening to Colby and just his incredible story?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think the thing that I took away the most is he's not been doing this for long.
Yeah.
And yet you can tell he understands the business pretty well.
Yes.
And like he knows what he's doing. And I think that's like, I'll say this about like this next crop of like talent, like even if you're looking like the main, like on big TV like WWE, you got like Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill and some of these other people that haven't wrestled for more than like 3 years.
Yep.
And you already look at them and you're like, that person gets it.
Yeah.
And the same is true for Colby. So yeah, definitely check it out this Friday. It's going to be a great show, like always. Plus it's always fun when you've got somebody like QT Marshall there, because it's always a blast when he's there. So definitely check it out. And you know, Colby's got a bright future ahead of him.
He really does. And if you enjoyed that interview, again, make sure you hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Andy, I mentioned it at the top of the show. Last week's episode on our YouTube channel is our highest viewed non-live show on our YouTube channel. So for those of you who watched that, thank you for doing that. There are, Andy, a lot more viewers on that video than we have subscribers. So you know what that means.
Hit the subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing. It helps us tremendously. We would appreciate it very much because, Andy, big things still happening in the world of Squared Circle Radio. We teased it last week. We're going to continue teasing it. We've got some big guests coming up.
We do. We have a lot of very exciting things in the pipeline that we're waiting for just some things to work out.
Yep.
We've also got some just big ideas that we're walking through and talking about doing. So it's definitely a lot of fun right now. Wrestling is as hot as I can ever remember it being. And so having this like media platform to do it with and having all these different companies and things you can look at, you can find whatever you want, wherever you want, and we can provide a lot of it. If you'll just hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share with your friends, all of that stuff, absolutely do that.
Whatever platform you're listening or watching, we're on it, so just make sure you support us. We would appreciate it very much. Listen, we know there's a wrestling podcast on every corner of every street, of every block. We get it, but if you have found our show, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, let's move into a fun part of our show that not too many people do, and that is some trivia. Next week is the King of the Ring tournament, and that's been going on since 1985 in the WWF, so we thought we would throw some trivia at you like we like to do before every pay-per-view. So I am going to go first and throw Andy a round of trivia questions. We'll come back to it in a minute, and he can throw me around. We'll go back and forth a little bit here, play some music. All right, Andy, I said the King of the Ring started in 1985. Who was the winner of the first King of the Ring tournament?
And was this still while it was a non-televised?
That is correct, yes.
Thing? Okay.
Because we didn't get TV.
Well,
TV
yeah,
until,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. One of the old names that always pops up when it comes to King of the Ring tournaments is Harley Race. Took a shot.
That is incorrect. But that's okay. You were close. The answer is Don Morocco.
Oh, wow.
The Rock. The original Rock.
Yeah.
Don Morocco, 1985, becomes the first King of the Ring.
I should have. Yeah.
The next year, 1986. Yes, I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. I wasn't even born then. But this man won the King of the Ring tournament, and he created the first King gimmick out of the King of the Ring tournament. So we've seen that with like Woods and Corbin and all that. This guy was the first one to do it. Who was it?
He's just going to be my go-to answer for a while. Harley Race. Okay.
That one is correct.
I would think so, yeah.
The King, Harley Race.
Yeah.
And if you all remember, and you were watching WrestleMania 3 in 1987, he was the King. He faced Junkyard Dog.
Yeah.
Dog wore his crown, all the things.
Yeah.
So, Harley Race is correct. So, you're 1-1 there. One for two. Here we go. All right. Next question. Who is the only two-time King of the Ring winner?
Well, here's the thing. When we do these trivia questions, we don't tell each other the questions beforehand.
No,
so
we
this
don't.
is one of my questions
Perfect.
as well.
That's great.
I believe it is. But I believe that would be Bret the Hitman Hart.
That is correct. The Hitman, Bret Hart, won it.
He won it in consecutive years, didn't he?
No.
He didn't?
There was not a tournament in 92.
But he won consecutive tournaments.
That is correct.
Yeah.
He won in 91 and in 93. 93 was the first pay-per-view King of the Ring. Bret Hart won it that year. All right. Last question of this round. How many King of the Ring tournaments has the immortal Hulk Hogan competed in throughout his illustrious career? And as you're watching on the screen, as a hint, there's a match, a Hulk Hogan match at a King of the Ring event.
At a King of at an event though, but not necessarily part of the tournament.
You decide.
Oh gosh, see, surely he's had to have been a part of at least one. I'll say 3.
You want to take a second crack at it?
0.
Hulk Hogan has never competed in a King of the Ring
He was too
tournament.
good for it, brother. He doesn't work tournaments, brother.
Now listen, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, the King of the Ring started out as a house show.
Yeah.
Like they did a live event, much like the Royal Rumble started that way as well. Hogan headlined a lot of those house shows as champion. In fact, I think the first one he defended it against like Nikolai Volkov or something like that.
Yeah.
That picture that you saw on your screen on the YouTube channel, he defended and lost his championship to Yokozuna. And his last King of the Ring appearance was 2002, and he lost one of the only times he's ever tapped out in his career.
Oh, wow.
To Kurt Angle.
Wow.
2002 King of the Ring.
Wow.
I'm not spoiling any trivia questions there. I've got more in the chamber. But if you're digging what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, trivia is available in our archives wherever you find your podcast. We've got WrestleMania trivia, Royal Rumble trivia, Backlash trivia. Did we do Elimination Chamber trivia?
I think we
did.
Yeah.
So we try to do that for every big pay-per-view. Just a way to throw some old school stuff in there. It's a lot of fun. Andy and I are super competitive, so it's a fun way to throw some different elements in. So again, if you're listening on podcast, we're available wherever you find your podcast. Spotify, Apple, Google, Podbean, all the places. Just hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very, very much. All right, Andy, time for the next segment, which is... It is our first round of our 3-count segment, which is the good, the bad, the wait and see. In the current world of professional wrestling, I'll throw to you first, Andy. Okay. What is your good this week in the world of wrestling?
My good this week in the world of wrestling is actually going to take us like the last 2 weeks of Monday Night Raw. The in-ring, the last couple of weeks, have been ridiculously good. And like across the board, not just like 1 or 2 matches. Like this week, Io and Shayna was fantastic. Gunther and Kofi was fantastic.
Yep.
Ilya and Dre was great. We'll talk about that here a little bit as well. Becky and I'm blanking on the name now.
Me too.
Why am I blanking on the name?
I am too.
Dakota Kai.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Becky and Dakota Kai. I don't know how I blanked on that. There's a lot of damage control people. Becky and Dakota Kai was great. Zoe Stark was great. Like just the matches this week were really, really, really good. So in ring, WWE has been killing it the last couple of weeks.
And that's reflective in the attendance, the numbers we're seeing, the pay-per-views.
Ticket prices.
All the things. Yes, ticket prices. That's the thing. Merchandise sales, all the things. A lot of people would look at wrestling, at least when Vince McMahon was running it, and like the in-ring product wasn't the number one thing.
Right.
And it seems like it might still not be number one, but it has way more of an emphasis now than it ever has. And it shows with everything they're doing.
Absolutely.
So, yes, in-ring product, big thumbs up all the way around. I mean, heck, Randy Orton and AJ Styles main evented SmackDown last week. Come on.
Yep.
Cody Rhodes and Carmelo Hayes, despite the botch last week. Come on.
Yeah, it was great.
We're getting that stuff. Gunther and Sheamus, we're getting that stuff on free TV, ladies and gentlemen. Great stuff. All right, from the good to the bad. What do you think? Bad thing in the wrestling business.
Bad thing in the wrestling business this week. Probably what was your bad last week. It's kind of my bad this week, too, because it's a little annoying. The fact that we didn't get to see Kofi beat Ray on TV, that's a weird one to me.
Yeah.
LA Knight and Santos, you literally set that up on TV and then didn't do anything with it because it was off TV. So I get it. Like, you don't have a lot of time left. But, again, we're watching a wrestling show, so it's wrestling comes kind of first in some senses. And so I'd much rather had that come on this, seeing those matches on TV, or at least televise the house show this weekend, something like that, to where we can actually see it.
Yeah. What matches would you have replaced them with? Because I totally agree. I'm just curious as to what you think.
Honestly, and everybody knows how I feel about Punk. I love Punk. That Punk segment last week, you probably could have cut a little bit of to make Kofi Ray 5-10 minutes. I think that'd have been great. Trying to think what was on SmackDown this week.
If you took any of the King of the Ring matches and swapped it, let's just say you had to put one on the live events.
Oh, if I had to put one in the live events.
For the men and the women, which ones would you have done?
The women's one, I get why they did.
Michin and Tiffany?
No, it was Tiffany and Maxine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Probably. I don't know, though. I want Tiffany on TV, too.
It's true.
Probably Shayna. Probably the Shayna one I get. I get why that one was probably on live event.
Yep.
The men's one.
Who did Jay beat last week? Was it Balor?
Yeah, because he was McIntyre's replacement.
Yeah, you got to put that on TV. Okay.
Who's on the SmackDown side other than LA Knight and Santos, Randy and AJ?
Then you had Dawkins replacing Lashley against Tama Tonga.
But you need that one on TV because of the bloodline stuff.
Yep.
And then there was the fourth one.
Man, we did a great job preparing for this podcast. Regardless.
I'll look it up while you're...
Regardless. It's very difficult. I understand why they push it to the live events. I get that. Because you want to drive the live event business.
Yep.
That's what the business was predicated on to begin with when it started. As I alluded to back when we were playing trivia, there was no TV until the mid-'80s.
Baron Corbin and Carmelo Hayes.
I think I'd put that on a live event.
Maybe.
Because I'm just not sure that I'm ready for a Baron Corbin babyface on TV yet.
But, dude, he's killed. His match was fantastic.
Oh, listen,
he's pulling out these moves I didn't know he could do.
It was great.
Yeah.
I'm just not quite sure how I'm going to feel about that
out of all of the matches, probably Kofi Ray was the safest one to put on the live show.
Yep.
And I get that.
But we want it on TV.
Yeah. I still would like it on TV.
I think your idea is great to just televise the house show. Yep. That would have been great. All right. What's your wait and see this week?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the King of the Ring.
Okay.
And my wait and see was the result of the main event of Monday Night Raw, because you can't tease Ilya and Gunther and not give it to us. And I get it. You don't want to do it on free TV, and you want to make it as big as possible, this, that, and the other. I think you could have done this match on free TV to set up something down the line at the Berlin show. Because you literally just gave us Gunther Sheamus on free TV.
Mm-hmm.
You've given us Cody Rhodes Carmelo on free TV. You've given us a lot of really, really, really big matches on free TV.
Yep.
And if we're still trying to get Ilya over with the crowd, and put him in there with Gunther, and he's going to get people are going to, the main roster crowd who kind of doesn't really give him that much of a reaction right now, fall in love with him.
I texted you this last night. I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to say it on the podcast. I think the reason we didn't get it is because Ilya is joining Imperium.
I think we get that. I think they need to have a match before that. I think they need to have a match to set that up. I think you can have two, where on the TV one, Gunther beats him. Berlin, Gunther beats him again. Ilya can't beat him, join him, and then turns on him at some point, and we get that for the World Heavyweight Championship, because, good Lord, that's going to feed generations whenever they fight for that belt.
I don't know. There's lots they can do with it.
There's a lot they can do with it.
I can see why you're holding out hope, and I can see the trepidation and all that. There's lots they can do with it. That's the point of this segment. Let's wait and see what happens.
And here's the thing, like, the flip side of it is, we said it, Jay needs some big wins.
And he got one.
He got a big win. Is he going to beat Gunther?
Maybe.
I mean, there's a good chance he might.
Maybe Ilya cost Gunther.
Yeah, or Vinci, because we still haven't seen Vinci in a minute. I think there's a chance he could beat Gunther. If he beats Gunther, that's really big. I think
if he beats Gunther, he's winning the whole thing.
Probably. I think there's a chance it could be Jay Tama at the end, and Tama Tonga wins it.
Oh, I think Jay wins
with the bloodline
if
interfering and helping. Well, that could be where Jimmy comes back.
Exactly.
Something like that, too. So, I don't know. I think if whoever comes out of the Raw side is winning it. Because ain't nobody beating Gunther on the SmackDown side. Ain't nobody beating Jay on the SmackDown side.
You don't think LA Knight's got a shot?
No. I think he's going to get pulled into a feud with probably Legado del Fantasma.
Interesting.
So,
all right.
The thing we didn't see on
right. That's right. If it didn't happen on TV, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right? All right. Good stuff. I'll hit my 3 count here in just a minute. But before we do, let's hit back to a round of trivia.
All right.
Let's go with Andy's round of King of the Ring trivia. I've already spoiled one of your questions.
Yeah, I've got a backup, though.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I like it.
All right. The youngest King of the Ring winner won at the age of 24 years and 4 months. Who is it? I had to find hard ones for this one to stump you a little bit.
You did great.
Thank you.
Shot in the dark. I'm going Owen Hart.
That is incorrect. It is Mabel.
Mabel was 24?
Mabel was 24 when he won King of the Ring.
I knew he was young, but dang, I didn't realize he was only 24 in 1995. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Now, on the flip side of that, who is the oldest man to ever win the King of the Ring tournament?
I'm going to go Booker.
That is incorrect.
What?
It was Harley Race.
Oh, duh. Idiot. All right.
All right, who is... When we're talking about the King of the Ring tournament here, not the Queen of the Ring.
Okay.
Who is the only woman to enter the King of the Ring tournament?
China.
That's correct.
There we go. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was probably 99.
I think so.
If I had to bet, I'd say 99.
All right. In 1995, the King of the Ring event.
Again, Mabel won the title.
Yep.
Yep.
This was the only King of the Ring pay-per-view without a what?
World title match.
That's correct.
That was a trash pay-per-view, too. That night, I think, ended in a Kiss My Foot match between Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler. I think that was the main event.
Oh, yeah, because that's the one where Lawler threw up and it was like graham crackers and a bunch of... Yeah.
Yes. I think that was the main event of that show.
90s.
You had Sean and Kama Mustafa in a double DQ or a double count or something. Come on, people.
All right, last one. King of the Ring, 1998. Saw the matchup of Kane and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Uh-huh.
What did Kane say he would do if he lost that match?
Set himself on fire.
That's correct.
Which he had already set himself on fire like 2 months ago in the Inferno match.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then he would set JR on fire.
Then he set JR on fire. That's hilarious. All right. Before we get right back into trivia, if you're listening to us on Sports Wire Radio, our exclusive partner, make sure that you keep it tuned in right here. SportsWireRadio.org is where you can listen live. Follow Tom at Thomas Bryce 2017 on Twitter. Make sure that you use the hashtag All Wrestling Matters. Great partner of ours. We appreciate them so very much for everything that they do for us. They play our shows all the time. They've been our partners since the beginning. They'll be our partner in the end. We appreciate them very, very much. All right, let's get back into trivia. Let's keep the theme of 1998 because I've got three questions about the 1998 King of the Ring tournament. Well, not specifically tournament, but we'll get there. All right. Dan the Beast Severn. Yes. The UFC fighter competed regularly in the WWF in 1998, and he was also one of the first NWA champions whenever TNA came around. Anywho, so Dan the Beast Severn, in his match in the King of the Ring tournament in 1998, he injured a superstar, forcing that superstar to wear a chest protector for the rest of his career. Who was it?
Was it D'Lo Brown?
It is D'Lo Brown wearing a chest protector for the rest of his career. Yes, that happened in 1998.
Yeah, straight up turned him into a weapon. That's all it did.
That is exactly what happened. All right, also in 1998, the finals of the King of the Ring tournament, as you can see on your screen, The Rock and Ken Shamrock for the finals. Who won that night?
I believe it was Ken Shamrock.
That is correct. Ken Shamrock was the 1998 King of the Ring.
And that's like the achievement of his career.
That is the achievement of his career. You're right. Yep. All right. Now, it's not fair for me to ask you about the 1998 King of the Ring. You asked me about Kane and Austin.
Yeah.
All right. I asked you about the tournament. But it is not fair to ask about anything from that event except for one match. One match stole the show that night in Pittsburgh. What was that one match? All anybody remembers from this event. Not even Kane and Austin in the main event. First blood match.
Oh, it's the Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell match. Yeah.
That is correct.
That was on the King of the Ring pay-per-view.
King of the Ring, 1998, is only remembered for Mankind versus The Undertaker. All right. In 2001, last question here, this man pulled triple duty at the King of the Ring pay-per-view. He wrestled 3 matches that night.
Okay.
He won the semifinal match. He lost in the finals. And then he won arguably the most brutal street fight in WWE history. Who was it?
I believe. Oh, was it? Was it Kurt Angle? Was that the Shane?
That was the Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle street fight.
Listen, this spot is the dumbest and wildest spot I think I've ever seen.
Yes.
Because he threw him into it the first time. It didn't work. Shane landed on his head.
Yep.
Throw him a little more force. Goes through it. Whatever.
Yep.
They do the same thing again.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
So you're watching on YouTube, you see this spot. Yes, it took him twice to go through that pain, and it took him twice to go back through the other pain on the other side. It was dumb.
It was horrible.
It was one of those things, man, where Bruce Pritchard tells the story that Vince almost sent him out to stop this match. because of how bad it was. Like Bruce was literally at the edge of the curtain where the wrestlers could see him.
Yeah.
And like he was about to come out and stop the match.
There ain't no way Kurt and Shane will stop though.
Oh, no. And Kurt also got a concussion in the finals against Edge. And he still went out and wrestled that match. Wild times in the WWF in 2001. All right, it's time for the continuation of the 3 count. Here is my 3 count. And my good this week in wrestling is a little bit weird, so let me defend it.
Okay.
My good is Bayley, again, not being featured on a pay-per-view poster.
Oh, feeding into that, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I think, again, it's on purpose at this point.
Yep.
And it's great because she's going to use that either as a babyface or a heel. I don't think it matters. As fuel, she's going to use it in a storyline. It's going to be something. But when the SummerSlam stuff came out, and then when Clash at the Castle came out, and then what was the other one that got released this week? Wasn't there another poster?
Was it the King and Queen of the Ring?
Maybe. Yeah. Like she's not on any of them.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It's King and Queen of the Ring because all the champions are on it besides her. Great. Love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yep.
Here's my bad this week, and I'm so glad that you didn't pick this. The Ric Flair video on social media is just trash. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's not surprising, but it's embarrassing.
No, it's not surprising.
Which is the sad part.
Yeah. The dude almost died. And when he almost died, it was like, no, I can't drink alcohol anymore. I can't do it anymore. And then he's a blubbery mess.
Yeah.
At this bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Flair goes down as one of the greatest of all time.
In ring. But the more stuff he does, the harder it is to put him on that list. Yep. Agreed.
Same true with Hogan. Yes. Like Hogan saying he's the one that discovered Kevin Owens is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Wait, what?
Uh-huh.
How did I miss that?
He also said he just...
Wait, whoa. You can't... No,
I believe it was Kevin Owens. I mean, let me double check.
You cannot just move on like that's nothing. I need some context.
He also said he's part of the reason why The Undertaker was discovered in WWF.
I can kind of see that one, but not really.
He's...
That one's more plausible. Yeah.
No, he said it. No, Hogan said, has previously taken credit for discovering Kevin Owens.
That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. I need more context for that.
So...
Hulk Hogan, if you're listening to this podcast and you want to come on and defend yourself, we're more than happy to have you.
We got questions, buddy. We got a lot of questions.
Yep.
We got a lot of questions.
Lots of questions, but my bad is Ric Flair. Like, it just, the things that he was saying to those employees, just acting like
ridiculous.
An idiot.
Yep.
Talking about how he was going to put the restaurant over like it's a stinking wrestler. Like, man, just give it up.
Yep.
Just give it up. You're not 45 anymore. You're not styling and profiling.
No, you're just sad and pathetic.
It's bad.
Yep.
It's really bad. My wait and see this week, what I'm holding out hope for, I really lean more towards bad than good on this, but I'm holding out hope. Is this Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul match for both titles?
Yeah. I'm kind of on the fence about it too.
Are we not painting ourselves into a corner? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't understand what this company's fascination is about the world champion holding 2 belts.
Because clearly, it wasn't just the previous ownership.
No, we're
doing it again.
Yeah. And, I mean, we saw a record of it in NXT, too. Keith Lee was North American champion and NXT champion.
Yep.
I get it if you're trying to, like, hot shot Cody to be a Grand Slam champion.
Makes
but
sense.
I don't think you need to do that right now. I don't know. I don't get it. Because at some point, Cody's going to have to lose that U.S. championship.
I think the way, if we're saying that Cody's going to win, because I think there's another side of this we need to address. If Cody is going to win this, I think he drops the U.S. title to like an ultimate babyface, somebody that is super respectable, somebody that it's like
LA Knight.
Like an LA Knight. Like, so, yeah, he said he wanted to face LA Knight, right? Yeah. So maybe it's LA Knight. Maybe he's the one that drops it. puts him over, shakes his hand, bygones are bygones. It's cool.
But then at that point, if I'm LA Knight, I'm like, I just beat the world champ. Can I get a world championship opportunity too?
But as a babyface, you don't go down that road. That's why you can't lose it to a heel, because that's going to be
I still feel like LA Knight's the type of guy that would be like,
I know.
I mean, Austin would have been like that. Austin would be like, yeah, I beat you for the U.S. title. You still got one more. Let me have that one too.
So what happens if Cody loses?
I can say this. There's like a 0.0001% chance Cody loses.
I think it's way higher than that.
I don't think so. It's way too soon. There's no way we live in a world where Cody Rhodes loses his championship before Damian Priest loses his. There's no way.
Who's on the poster of SummerSlam?
I have no idea. I haven't actually even seen it.
Logan Paul.
Well, yeah, it's in Cleveland. They're not going to... You cannot let Romans...
I'm just saying.
No. In the old administration, yes. I get what you're saying. I don't think there's a chance Triple H does that.
I'm just saying.
I don't think there's a chance. Because we've already had a big show in Cleveland. And
so why would Logan Paul drop his title that he has?
I don't think it's going to end up being title for title.
That's what they said the other night.
Yeah, but I think they can back out of that.
Okay. So then do we head to like a DQ finish or something? Because if that's the main event of the show, that's a terrible finish. If it is a DQ finish, who gets involved?
I just think Cody beats him clean.
Lots of questions.
I mean, I think there's always a chance Jake Paul could show up because of his fight with Tyson.
Lots of questions, though.
Yeah, I think if you have Logan Paul beat Cody, you are literally taking 12 steps backwards.
I agree.
And it's Cody's win at WrestleMania then becomes kind of pointless.
I agree.
So I don't think that's why I say there's like a 0.00001% chance that Logan Paul wins. It just doesn't make sense booking wise.
I agree, but I think it's a higher percentage than that.
It shouldn't be.
You're correct. We shall see, though. We're going to preview it all coming up next week. In fact, next week, Andy, is a double preview show. We've got King and Queen of the Ring, and we've got Double or Nothing, AEW to talk about next week. Both of those events, back-to-back nights.
I forgot how busy Memorial Day weekend was for wrestling. It's very busy.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. May 25th and 26th, both shows. We'll preview them. We'll talk about them next week. All of the things. Lots of stuff to get to. Also coming up next week, our fantasy booking show, wherever you find your podcast on Thursdays. The MCWF Week 15 drops, and it is a loaded show. Let me just tell you. So that drops tomorrow on Thursday. Make sure that if you're listening on SportsWire Radio that you continue to do that. Check out all the great content that's on there. Like and subscribe our video and follow us on whatever platform that you have chosen. We appreciate it. We also apologize for the delay in dropping an episode. Monday was my 13th wedding anniversary, so I'm not recording on that day. It's normally the day we record it. I'm not doing it. So that is the honest truth about the delay, but we are still here for you.
We are.
Lots of good stuff, man. It's going to be, like you said, forget how busy Memorial Day is. It's going to be a busy week.
It's going to be a very busy week. Exciting, though. I think this is the best King of the Ring tournament in a long time. In a very long time.
At least the most important.
Yeah. And, I mean, when you put all the big stars in it, it makes it important. Queen of the Ring, same way. Yep. And then Double or Nothing. I think they've got a lot of high-powered matchups they're going to put on that show that's going to make it ridiculous.
Edge and Malachi Black and Barbed Wire Steel Cage match.
Buddy.
Let's go. All right, for Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. Big thanks to CCW star Colby Carter for joining us. If you're in the Nashville area, CCW's Battle of Nashville is this Friday. Come check it out. Thanks for hanging with us on this edition of Squared Circle Radio. We will catch you guys down the road.